in a project called Digital Education, and then we're going to proceed with the panel. So I'm just going to play the video.
Venimos a la escuela, jugamos, estudiamos, hartas cosas. Mi sueño es hacer robots y hacer pelear con otros robots. Voy a ser robótico. A veces trabajar con las tablets es chévere, cuadraditos y dominas tus dedos. Puedes encontrar cómo es el agua y cómo llueve y cómo sube el vapor.
Si tenemos alguna toma corriente, todo funciona y sobre todo que nos hace a nosotros los docentes la vida un poco más práctica, ¿no? La propia curiosidad de los niños hace que puedan ir viendo más allá. Y qué bueno que quizás mañana más adelante podamos ser partícipes de cumplir el sueño de Aníbal. Poder guiarlo y poder decirle, mira, aquí tienes un primer paso. Y más adelante él mismo pueda desarrollar todo.
So I wanted to highlight something that for me is very important, is that I think this is the first panel of the event that has like a majority population of ladies. And in working in technology and education, I think that deserves a big round of applause, of course. So to begin with, I would like to ask each of you, beginning with Alejandra, of course, what's the work your organization does regarding STEM, and basically, what have you been doing and when did you begin?
Well, good morning all. I work in Piura Conciencia. That is a project from the University in Piura. We are based in Piura, and we are a project for popularizing science and bringing science and society together. So we organize different types of activities for kids, teachers, journalists in the region, and in the past 4 years since the project started, we have participated more than 6,000 kids from Piura, and we have a group of volunteers that are students from the university and other universities from Piura of 300 students, which 60% of my group of volunteers are women. So it's very empowering. I'm very happy to work in that project and all the things we've achieved with this project in Piura.
Hello, everybody. Happy to be here. As you have seen, the video before is one of our main projects. I work in Fundación Telefónica. We are present in more than 17 countries in Latin America. And we are very compromised with education, especially technological education. You know that our country, Peru, is very big, very rich, but the geography is very difficult. So before talking about STEM, we have to go a step behind. There is no connection in rural areas. There is a very important gap in teachers. They don't know about internet because it is not their generation. So we have to do a lot of work. And so in this journey, we learned a lot visiting schools because we found out that the government has delivered a lot of computers. You can find it everywhere. But how were the computers? They were not being used. The directors have feared about the computers being lost. There were not enough plugs for the batteries, so they couldn't be recharged. And finally, the professors didn't know how to use it, any content at all, no internet. So in that path, we found an integral solution. We developed the solution. I don't know if you have seen it in the video, but we have developed a solution at the digital class, which is basically, you know, like a big carry-on, like the one that you use for traveling. It has between 20 and 40 tablets, a laptop for the professor, and it has 3 components. And I think that main one is the training. We train the teachers for using that technology. The second one, in schools that doesn't have enough technological infrastructure, we deliver the material. And we have also worked in the content. And about the STEM, that it's very important, we have worked with Universidad Católica, the Oráculo Matemático, that it's a way of learning maths, but in a funny way, with games. Children are engaged with games and enjoy learning maths with this kind of apps. We made a contest 1 month ago, a region contest, because we work in 19 regions. And the winner, I was amazed, because the winner was a school close to that one that I show in the video. It was in Cusco, very far away, and they won the schools that are in Lima. And that was for the Oráculo. They really want to learn, and the professors also. And now we are trying a new program, programming and code. We have, this is a recent program. It is in 4 regions, and we are teaching code and programming through 7 courses. It's a blended course, presential and online, but we are trying, there are 6 courses, and we were also amazed by the results. In 2 weeks, 3 professors have already finished the courses, 200 hours of courses. And well, to do this, we work very closely in alliances with the Ministry of Education and with the regional presidents. So I can talk a lot about what I do, but I know that time is short, so I will be very happy to share you more about what I am doing, what we are doing in Peru. Thanks.
Okay, well, with Propósito Peru, since it's starting, we are in the first step, and the first stage is related to design the model, the education model, the curriculum. It's a great moment to really introduce there, like the STEM-based approach. It's very easy for us because since I told you, this is the homeschooling model, so around the homes, the households, there is the science is there, right there, to make students learn while doing, to do the projects, the experimentos, while they are learning in this STEM approach. So that's great for us to introduce this approach, and we're free of being depending on the curriculum in the classroom, in the school model, that they have to really cover all the contents and so, because we can really do much more in this type of environment, so that's great. But I want to share with you just one short thing about another organization, social organization that we are working with. We started this with a group of like 30 women, inspired in women's, in two women from Holland, that they started something that is called Por Eso, Peru. They started this in the valley of Urubamba, well, close to that, in Calca and around Calca, in high altitude communities where the only thing they have is potato. And so what we are doing there is trying to improve the ground to make a better condition to grow there, like carrots and broccoli and different type of crops. So we improve the nutrition in the children. But this is a nice project because we involve the Ministry of Education there to let us do this as the curriculum, as part of the curriculum program, to make the students know how they can really improve their crops and their production, and how they can start loving what they grow. And instead of selling it in the market to buy then soda crackers, instead of that, starting to eat what they are producing, then that's much better for a healthy nutrition and so. So that's a very, very nice project. And all this is around the STEM model of education. Okay.
Daniel.
Thank you.
Please, big round of applause. Thank you very much. Daniel, so what's the work that UCIL is doing regarding science and technology education?
Thank you. First of all, I want to thanks TECHSUYO organizers and to be part of it. I think STEAM education is the beginning of everything, no? But you need to complement it with entrepreneurial education. You need to develop that skills that our children need to be part of and change the ecosystem and change the things in Peru. The mindset is the main thing. No, we need to have better politicians, better governance, and a better president probably. We have to build a new country, really. So we are working through them in schools with that competences, with that skills, working with them in contents, in the courses with UCIL and with the allies. So the main thing is that the Ministry of Education is working with us in the program that they have called Educación para el Trabajo. We are working with them with more than 200,000 people, students, in that skills. We are talking about entrepreneurial skills. We are talking about attitude. We are talking about global vision. It's very important that our students need to have these global visions. How are we going to have that global startups if our students don't have a global vision? That they need to develop their global vision. They need to develop their attitude, risk tolerance, and that kind of competences. We need to work with them since they were very, very child. So we are working with the ALES, with the Ministry of Education, with Alonso too, in many of our programs in San Ignacio, with Junior Achievement. This is a program that we have in schools and in most of the universities. We ran a contest called Creer para Crear, it was 15 years ago, and we gave skills to the students of how to develop their own business plans, but it wasn't only that. It's the development of their skills to be a new citizen, to be a different kind of entrepreneur, a global entrepreneur, and that's the things that we are been doing.
Okay, thank you very much, Daniel. Lucía, you have a very interesting background. Basically, you've worked a lot of years in the private sector, in public sector as well. So I think that you can actually give us a very, very broad perspective of how is like STEM education context in Peru right now. So I would like to ask you if you could actually give us some overall thoughts about the situation right now in Peru.
Okay, well, let's share something about my perspective of the experience in the Ministry of Education first. it's not easy because we have to think about not just doing. Remember, I was presenting that the experimento is the first stage of something that we really have to think that is going to be in a large scale for everybody. So to do that in the STEM approach is difficult because we have to change the way teachers are teaching today, in the sense of we have to think about projects that involve science, involve math, the same topic, for example, water or digital citizenship or whatever, photosynthesis, whatever we want to introduce, we have to put that in the approach of the different parts of STEM, like science, technology, engineering, arts, and design, well, STEM with the A, and math, all together. So we have to be involving different teachers in a same project for a specific topic. So that is not easy to do. So we can convince the school or the ministry to do some project like this and that in some specific schools, but if it's not really introduced as part of the methodology and part of the content that the teachers are going to give some hours of their time to fill all the content in a year, if it's not really part of the model of education, this is just going to be like nice projects for the picture, and that's nothing else. Nothing else is going to happen. So we really are fighting to make that possible. And for example, photo STEM, I don't know if you're involved with that, Instituto Apoyo, with the aid of Fundación Siemens Stiftung. They are helping a lot on that, and that's something that I think is really important to highlight here, because many different organizations are participating on that. We are, perhaps many of us are involved on this, and we have to do more forest teams, more other organizations that should be putting together the efforts to work more on this STEM education. Today, we have, for example, one STEM region, that is Tacna, Región STEM Tacna. Then we have a district, Miraflores is a district Tacna. Gaston is also doing something in the health and nutrition, with the STEM approach, and some other people. Then Salvador del Solar, I don't know, I think something related to the documentales,
yeah,
I'm not sure about,
films, yeah.
Something like that. So different people are starting to get involved. Also Magali Solier in Ayacucho. So we have to really work more and more on that, and try to do like a movement around STEM education. So everybody's also invited there to go back to Peru and to be part of.
So, thank you very much, Lucia. I wanted to ask Alejandra, because she has a very interesting experience working from the north of Peru. You must have seen a lot of difficulties there. So I would like to ask. I would love for you to actually tell us about what are the major depths, because we are talking about a lot of good stuff that is going on in Peru, but I think there's a lot of stuff that is missing too. So I think that you could actually enlighten us a bit there, please.
I would like to say that my project is in Piura, but I'm not from Piura, I'm from Lima. And I lived 6 years in Spain and took a plane from Barcelona to Piura without knowing anyone, just my boss through Skype. So I arrived there, and the University of Piura is a wonderful place. It's a very nice university. And I was working in more in the communication strategy for the university, but I'm a biochemistry, so everything was weird. Nobody knew me. And I thought, like, why do I study biochemistry? So I started realizing, and maybe that happens to you. Maybe you're the only scientist in your group of friends, or the only innovator. And sometimes you think, like, how do I get here? Like, who inspired me, right? Or which TV program, or we think, or Carl Sagan or something. So that's why I get really, really obsessed with science museums. And of course, we cannot build a science museum from one day on another. But I didn't want, like, kids from Piura or the students where I work with not to have that experience, because I've been to a lot of science museums and I love them. But I know that that possibility was very far from them. So I thought, why we don't do experience that simulates a science museum in Piura? Maybe for only one day, but that day can really make an impact in our in our society, in our community. So with this crazy idea and without knowing many people in Piura, in my first year we started a project, and it was hard because, for example, the first year we only had 5,000 soles, and we had around 2,000 students. So how do you make an event for 2,000 kids with 5,000 soles with a lot of people helping you? So we have this very, very group of volunteers, which I said before, we are majority of women, and the majority are students from Beca 18 too. So for me, this was I didn't know the program, so for me, now we're like, they're all my friends, these students. I have them on Facebook, they write me constantly. So I thought like I could really make an impact in our society. And that was the first year. A lot of kids came, and it was overwhelmed, as well as the teachers. The teachers constantly write me or call me because they have my phone. Alejandra, like, when can we go to the university? And it was very lucky for me that the university is very welcoming everyone and opening the doors. Scientists want to meet. And how can we like tell our kids, yeah, you go to study science if they don't know, I don't know, what's a scientist, what the scientists do. They are normal people. They are not like only in books, or they don't know they can go to the university. They think we're all nerds in our labs, we don't talk, and that's not true. So, for example, we engage our community with specific activities, and our favorite one is el ceviche científico. So we explain, and in Piura, of course, ceviche. So we explain what's the science on a ceviche, like how molecules are reacting, how it's important to have sustained fishing. And kids love this because they love ceviche. They never thought like ceviche is doing an experiment. So regarding to what are the strengths of our program, or what, I don't know, like it was difficult to make it, of course, about time, because it's demands a lot of time. And then El Niño happened. So we got very, very, it was very strong for us, and a lot of kids that participate in the program suffered, lost their houses, everything got flooded. So we wanted, so specifically this past year that we have the help with Innovate Peru, we made this program to help like ours, all the research that is being done in the University of Piura reach the community towards el fenómeno del niño. So it's difficult to make, it's difficult to explain somebody el fenómeno del niño happens for this, because they've lived it too. So it's important for us, and I think it's important for STEM to also bring like native knowledge and like the local experience to our scientific experience, because if no, we are doing, so it's very hard for us to leave that deficit model, to say we are the university, we have the knowledge, you are the kids, we will share with you. No, in the program we want to say, we appreciate your knowledge, and your knowledge is very important for our scientific knowledge, and we like to share it. Because if no, instead of bringing science and society together, we are giving it farther. We are saying, we are the university, we are so abstract, like, you know. So that's like very difficult to do in Peru, because our society still have this idea of a scientist very up in the skies, right? So I think that's the difficult, besides the money and time, for me that's the most difficult thing about having a project in Peru.
And so we can highlight a bit of that. What has been your experience working with the private sector in Piura?
We work in the university because it's a break in the university, and we've been able to raise the money, so that way it's always been money from outside the university and the students too. And well, I work in the fundraising office of the university, so I have some skills in fundraising that helped. And
if you want to support Piura,
yeah, with a
Conciencia, yeah.
And well, it's hard, and people like it, but sometimes it's hard because in working in this project, you also realize that the difficulties are more like in the strategy of science, on how science is produced in our country. So sometimes it's hard to tell a scientist or another person, like, you need to communicate more. You need to go down that podium of science and go down to society. And sometimes people don't want to hear that. And that's hard with the private sector.
Thank you very much. Elizabeth, we've talked a lot about like private sector and public experience, but I would like to know how has been the experience of Telefónica to provide these solutions to like a nationwide reach. You have to work with the state, right? How has been this experience with working with the public sector?
It's challenging. Uh, all of us know that in Peru, there have been many changes. In 2 years, we have had 5 ministers of education. We
That's a
miss
lot.
you, Lucía, by the way. And when we have a meeting with a minister, tell us about our projects, we were not asking money. We were asking to have an alliance. As we work with public schools, and we also wanted them to review the content of what we were providing in the tablets, because it is going to be useful for the teachers. We also wanted the certification of the ministry of the courses that the teachers got. No? So it was useful for them. It was not seen as a burden. It was seen like something. It was good for them, for their curriculum. And we were more successful with the regions because they stay 5 years. So we can work in long-term conditions. We have worked a lot with them, and it's easier, it's faster. Yeah? So we did like that. We went to the regions, presented the projects, made alliances, and it worked very well. With the ministry, we are still trying, yeah. Yeah, we are still trying. And for example, we are in the way to get an alliance for digital classrooms that I show, because it's an expensive project if you take this project to the rural areas. And we have agreed with the ministry that they are going to collaborate with the coaches, because part of this program include coaches that goes to the school every 15 days to help and see how is the program going on. So 2 weeks ago, finally, I got the meeting with the minister, with the Ministry of Education, and he liked the project. He offered us to sign it soon, and he was very interested also in code and programming. We started that project, and he told us that he would like to scale, no? Because in my experience, there are a lot of initiatives in Peru, but we have to work to make them more scalable and look for sustainability. No? So that's the challenge.
Yeah. And for reaching so many people and so many students in Peru with something like digital education, you need the commitment and the capabilities of the teachers, right? So how can you actually overcome this challenge of having trained teachers to develop these kind of programs?
Well, when we decide to go to a region, we have a meeting first with the president of the region, with the director, and we choose together the schools that we are going to introduce a project. We have a big meeting to present the project. We visit the schools, and we choose the schools with really are very interesting, and that the directors are leaders, because it's very important, the teachers, the leadership of the director. And we also offer them the certification. The region is going to give the teachers the certification that it's important to get a promotion. So it's a motivation also for them. That's the way we do it.
Okay, thank you very much. Daniel, Elizabeth mentioned the scale and that there are a lot of initiatives going on in Peru but we actually need to build on top of them for making them bigger. USIL has a lot of experience working with partners. Can you describe a bit like your work from USIL and which kind of partners have you been doing work with the last years?
Well, most of our partners are from the government and privates too. One of them is Innovate Peru and the production minister. They've been working with most of the incubators in Peru, running a project that helps many startups to scale. We are running 22 startups in our co-work space in San Ines. USIL Ventures is the name of the co-work space. And we know that there's more than 15 incubators and accelerators in Peru that are working with startups. So the main thing is how to give them all the support. We have San Ignacio. San Ignacio is a corporation, so the support that we can give them is not only in Lima. We can give them the support in Peru, in Miami, in Paraguay, because we are a corporation, and most of the institutions have the same view, no? How to scale up the startups to be success.
Yeah.
And yes.
No, and you're doing a lot of work, but how difficult is to get money to finance all your projects?
Well, you need to be creativity to get money for the projects, no? Last year we were running with Swiss Contact a project for sustainability and startups from the jungle, and you have to see what the cooperation offices are doing and the fields that they are improving or like strengthening, and we saw that, and our projects are particular and specialized. No, if Swiss Contact are doing projects or supporting projects in a sustainability way, so we have to present projects in that way, no? And if the Minister of Production is innovation, so you have to present projects in innovation, and that's the way we do, no? We are like seeking and looking what is the corporation doing and what is the government doing, and we present projects for benefit our startups, for benefit of our society. So that's the way we are been working, yes.
What, in your words, what would be the next steps to improve or priorities to improving education in Peru?
We have to change our mindset, no? In the way that in United States they used to have, no? In the way of an ecosystem view, ecosystem mindset. I think most of the institutions that we visit this week with our mission from AmCham, we are like more than 20 people that came, have that kind of view, no? Of ecosystem, how we have this collaborate model, no? How the institutions, not only one university, many university helps in the same project, probably, you know? I was wondering why not many universities of Peru support TECHSUYO. It's incredible, no? We need to be the whole universities supporting TECHSUYO. So, because it is a platform that we try to get our startups in Peru to United States, and that's the way that we have to think, no? In Peru, we have to change our mindset to have this ecosystem view and to have this collaborate model. Yes.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Lucía, one priority for changing education in Peru. I know there are like 1,000 priorities, but like if you have to be like one.
How many minutes do I have for? Okay, one. let's say something, it's not poesía, but it's the same thing I've been mentioning during the day, is that we really have to put all the efforts together to start building the idea of something that we can call el Acuerdo Nacional por la Educación del Perú, and all stakeholders have to be together. And these have to start from the social organizations, from the private side, to really get to the government to say, okay, we are ready, we have put all our ideas together, our strengths together to really start working on that pathway of this agreement, this national agreement, to start working with that priorities. First, initial education, early age education is key is really the main thing. We have to put our effort. Then on the other side, all these generations that are finishing high school, going to do perhaps to be part of the ninis, and we have to work for them. What do they have to learn in those 2 last years of high school? We have to work on that. That's the second flag, I would say. The first one, you said one, but let me, just three. Early age, the ninis, what are we going to do with them? That's urgent to be part of the human capital of our country, that we really need to work on that. And the other one is teachers, of course. We have to have this global teacher to make them understand they are part of a global community, and they have to really change their mindset. And we have to change first, as you said, our mindset. Okay.
Thank you very much, Lucia. Elizabeth, let's say a couple of priorities for education in Peru, from Telefónica's perspective.
Well, in first place, I agree with Lucia. It's very important to be articulated, private sector, public sector, because before I talk about a Ministry of Education, but you know that Ministry of Communication and Transportation, it's very related to technology, and they are receiving a lot of tablets for contest in spectrum contest. And they are not working together. They do not articulate. It's very hard to articulate one sector with another sector, and education goes across all the sectors. It's needed, the articulation. And another challenge, I don't know, but I think that we have to prepare, we have the obligation to prepare our kids for the works of the future. And education, it's very important for that. And in Peru, we talk a lot about education, but we are not talking about that, about how STEM skills are so necessary for our future kids' jobs. I would say that.
Thank you very much. Alejandra, what would be a couple of final thoughts regarding priorities in education?
Yeah, well, I think from my point of view as being reborn as a Piurana, I think it's very important for the regions to have people working in projects designed for the specific local community, because from my experience, from my kids, sometimes they find other contents from Lima or from outside Peru very far from their reality. So when you present something so close to them and work with the teachers, work in that region, it's very, for them it's easier to get engaged with science, to see science as a part of their life every day, not something in the TV or just in the university. No, science is everywhere. It's in the ceviche I'm eating, it's in the algarrobo that is giving me shade. So for me, it's very important that also as a community, we support people that go and live outside Lima, or professionals that find the opportunities outside Lima, and to encourage them. And sometimes that doesn't happen. Like our friends and family say oh, Lima, it's all the opportunities. I know, there are opportunities outside Lima. It's very challenging, but it's very rewarding. And for myself, I think that's, it's very important for us as a country to grow as a country and not as a city.
As a city, not Lima Flores. Yeah. It's not political advertising, but I mean, it was the moment. I would like to share you because something very small regarding everything that our luxury guests have shared with us. We have all talked about collaboration, and as I talked to you a bit yesterday, I'm living in Chile since January, and in Chile there's this group called Chile Programa. And in Chile Programa, there's like a round table where the Ministry of Education sits down with the regional governments, with Fundación Telefónica, with Samsung, with many companies, startups, and NGOs that are doing education programs for teachers, schools, and media work also with parents and journalists and stuff. Everything regarding involved programming for high schools, and I mean schools in general. And I'm part of Chile Programa because I'm part of Startup Chile. And then I told Lucía and Dani and Elizabeth, do you know that I'm part of Chile Programa, but I'm not part of Peru Programa, but I'm Peruvian? And you know why I'm not part of Peru Programa? Because Peru Programa does not exist. You know, there's kind of like efforts here and here and here and here, like maybe reaching 100 students here, 20 students there, 15,000 students there, but they're not working together. So I think that that's one of the major challenges that as a country, we have to like tear down the thing that we're competing against each other that we're actually not, because we all have the same priority in education. We're working for the future of our kids, right? So I think in the way that we don't over-challenge this thing, that we see each other as competitors and start seeing each other as like organizations that are pursuing the same goals, I don't think that we're actually going to change education in STEM in Peru. And I would hate for the future generation of entrepreneurs and people to keep leaving the country, like many of you, to actually look for opportunities to improve their country from United States, from Chile, from Argentina. That makes no sense. So I think that these kind of forums should be the invitation for people to actually begin collaborating in making bigger and scalable projects in Peru. And with that in mind, with that final thought in mind, I would like to invite each of you to tell us in 1 minute maybe about one of your projects that we could, with this forum, this audience could actually hop in and collaborate with you, beginning with you and finishing with Dani. Mention one project and one thing that someone from the audience or one company from the audience could collaborate with you with, and that's, yeah.
Well, now our project is kind of there because I'm probably leaving Piura, but I think as a university we want invite other people to share their experience with these students, because I know the access. Because these kids have access, they have internet. Yes and no. So in order invite you, if you want to share your experience, to come to University of Piura, and not only with our students from the university, but with these kids. They have 6-year-old, 8-year-old, but they're very smart and they're very curious to see how other people's doing, and it's very inspiring for them. So outside I'm leaving some booklets of our projects if anybody wants to know more, and I'll leave some of my contact too. So you're all invited to the university and to Piura Conciencia also to share your experience with us. Will be very inspiring.
Thank you very much. Elizabeth?
We are planning for next year, maybe January or February, a congress about digital educational entrepreneurship. And I would also invite you. I have listened to very interesting speakers to share. And I was talking also with myself. Well, I am a lawyer, I am reconverted, but working in education. But for example, when I was listening about NASA, when I was listening about how to cure cancer, I was feeling myself like, you know how it says, salir de la caja, getting out of the box. No? It's very necessary, because then you question yourself about some paradigms. We work, as we talk all the time between the same actors that are in Peru, it's very important to have and listen other experience. I also invite you to know more about our a classroom, digital classroom. We are developing more content, and we will be very happy to know if you have something to collaborate with us with the content of that digital classroom. Also working with the code programming. We started as I told before, 3 weeks ago, and we are experimenting. We consider ourselves as an education laboratory. We like to experiment with new technologies, with new methodologies. We are also starting a program about employability, because digital skills are necessary not only for the kids, it's also necessary for people like us, for people who were not born digital, and new qualifications are required for getting a job. We are starting also that program, and would be very useful to listen about new ideas. In entrepreneurship, we are working closely with Guaira and Universidad de Piura and ICA, and installing crowd-working places. So we have a variety of projects in which we can collaborate each other. Thank you.
You give me all this challenge to do in few words. Okay, let me try. Well, to meet 0 children without learning in 2030, of course, is a challenge. All of you are very welcome to be part of, just perhaps writing ideas of this, or being part of one side of the project, like you have a science program to offer to teach the children from very young to teenagers and so, or some other could be trying to see, okay, I can be part of the program of English language learning, or mindfulness, or with math, and with all the different sides of the project. It would be great. We have to put all the effort. I love to hear people like this girl, I don't know her name, hello. She was saying, okay, I'm from Ripley, but I always dream of doing something for education. How can I make it? Okay, this is what we really need, because if we can imagine to have a country where we can say in 2030 that in our country there is no children that are out of the opportunity of learning, I mean, this is something that we can really make us start thinking about being a first world country, you know, soon, if we can say that. So let's start doing that. And the other thing I want to share is something that we have been talking with Alonso since months ago about Propósito Peru has a part of trying to articulate different stakeholders around topics. We did the first one that was reading comprehension and access to the book. That's something very, very important, to make children have access to books. It's not a problem that they don't like to read because technology, no. It's that in our country, we have millions of children and families that do not have access to a book still. So we have to solve that problem. So we put all the stakeholders together around this topic, and we have companies and organizations. Fundación Telefónica was there, and some other beautiful projects that are running in Peru today around that. And we said, okay, we have to develop a proposal for the government to say, okay, this is what we can do, and you have to be part of that, and that's one. But the other one that we were talking with Alonso was to put all the stakeholders that are around. Somebody summarized some ones that are on this today. People that are working in coding, teaching, or just for little children, for high school students, for different programs in institutes and so on. So put all these together and try to create like a movement of this to really make the best proposal for the government to start doing computational thinking and coding, starting from scratch with the teachers. So that's something that we're working on, and all are very welcome to be part of this.
Well, I think our basic project for next year is to invite TECHSUYO to, I don't know, to Miami or to Lima, and it could be the beginning of Programa Peru, no? They are talking about Chile and Programa Chile. Probably TECHSUYO Lima 2019 could be the beginning of Programa Peru, and with a proposal to be open not only to government or institution, to startups and to the media, because we need media to show that Peruvians are doing in the world and in the United States. We have to visualize our success entrepreneurs. So TECHSUYO could be the beginning of that. Yes.
Okay. I would like for all of you to give you a big round of applause for this panel. I think there's a lot of things going on, so